I know a little bit about you. I know that you are on the Dean's Advisory Committee.
Yes,
Right?
the College of Business Advisory Board. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And how long have you served on that?
Oh gosh, it's probably been 9 years or so, I think,
Okay.
at least. It's been quite a while. Uh,
Oh, and I was in, I think when I was a brand new professor, I was in a panel discussion that you were a part of during the alumni business conference.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that a couple times. I did the presentations to the classrooms, and then I did the panel discussion. Mike Tidwell, a prior dean, was kind of
Oh,
instrumental in really getting me back to the campus and getting me involved as an alum. Prior to that, I hadn't had a lot of contact with the
okay.
school.
Oh,
Uh,
that's
grad.
wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your journey after EMU. Did you know exactly what you wanted to do when you
No.
graduated?
Well, okay, so I was I don't know if you a non-traditional student. I was already married. I had two kids that were when I graduated, my daughter was 11 and my son was 7. And
Okay.
I graduated with a degree in accounting, and I picked that because I was very, very needing a job. I wanted to get a job, and I knew that I could get a job in that field. And so
Yep.
it wasn't necessarily my passion, but I was good at it. And so I actually got recruited for a CPA firm too. So I worked at it back then it was a Big 8 firm, and I did my time at a Big 8 firm, and I got certified and became a certified public accountant, and did not like the life of public accounting because I thought it was very, very strenuous trying to raise kids and do all that. Um, Turns out finance, the field that I went into, was exactly that way. So even though I left public accounting, I went to work at the newspapers as a financial analyst, the Detroit Free Press and the Detroit News in downtown, as a
Okay.
financial analyst. And that was it's a little different than accounting. It's much more, predictive and analytical. And so I really enjoyed that more. Although again, not 100% my passion, but really good job, great place to learn and a great place to be. And so as I worked through my career, back to your question, did I always know what I wanted to do? No. And even while I was working through my career in finance, I always felt a little tiny something was missing
Hmm.
until I got promoted to the level of executive vice president. So I was the number 2 person there. I'd gotten promoted all through, became controller and then VP of finance and all that. But when I was executive vice president, and my purview of responsibility was so expanded. Oh my gosh, I had control over or responsibility for marketing and production and circulation, all these additional areas, IT. Then I was in my element. This is when I knew all those years of, not being quite sure, but feeling like I was doing the right thing.
Right.
It paid off. I was good. This is what I was born to do, to be in a leadership role, make decisions, really work closely with the wonderful team I had there, and then eventually I became the top person and ran
Right.
all the media outlets in Michigan that Gannett had. And so it took a while to figure out what I really wanted to do. And I'm so glad I stayed there because it turned out my future was there, and it was just in a larger expanded role.
Wow. And what role would you say that networking played along in your journey?
Well, being in the newspaper industry in Detroit, it's kind of like your network. You have to network. You're out there. That
Right.
role, in and of itself, you are automatically, like I was on the board of the Detroit Economic Club, and that is filled with major CEOs from in southeastern Michigan, large companies. The presidents of Wayne State, Michigan State, and U of M are on that board. And so it was built-in networking opportunity, but you just don't show up. You have to engage, you have to talk to people when you're there and ask questions and do all that. I was networking through boards, right? So I became a board member of Forgotten Harvest. That was a huge networking opportunity, met many, many similar positioned people. Inforum, which is a women's organization out of Detroit. Again, great way to network with women who are in leadership opportunities or trying to get into leadership opportunities, looking for mentors or being mentored. I can't say enough about how involving yourself in those organizations, being a volunteer, those took a lot of time. But you are opening yourself up to either meeting someone who can help you, who you can help, or just, expanding your area of individuals who you might not be needing or wanting to know deeply now, but maybe in 5 years, you know what? It's great that you made that connection because they can be beneficial in one way, shape, or form. So networking, while it's difficult, I'm not necessarily a huge extrovert, and so it didn't come naturally to me. I learned to, go to those events, make myself visible, ask questions of people, get to know people. And it turns out, you ultimately actually do make some really good long lasting friendships as well.
That's awesome.
So,
EMU, what do you think EMU prepared you for?
EMU was such an awesome experience for me. I am one of 8 kids. Okay, so I'm the fifth. I'm the fifth out of 8 kids. So I'm used
Okay.
to kind of being like in the background. You're not really the top choice for anything. There's 4 kids ahead of you. What I was able to do at EMU was be a standout. In my own way. None of the professors or the other students knew me as anything other than a student, right? And so maybe a non-traditional student, but I could excel. I could see ways to kind of elevate myself and become more well-known and become smarter and do all those things. And I think EMU gave me that opportunity to. Professors were very receptive to a student like me who I was just like super hungry to learn. And
Right.
I was doing office hours and just doing everything I possibly could to excel. And the environment really, really allowed me to do that. And so then when I got to work, I sort of knew how to make myself stand out, which I wanted to do. Ultimately, I wanted to get promoted. I wanted to go on and do bigger and better things. And I think the groundwork at Eastern allowed me to do that. Eastern also, I think, prepared me for the hard work that happens when you're in a corporate environment. It's
Mhm.
if you're going to excel, if you're going to move forward, you're just going to have to work hard, right? I mean, it's kind of like you can't bypass it. I don't think maybe in today's world you can, but in that world you cannot bypass this need
Yes.
to work really hard. And so at Eastern, we just had awesome professors. They had businesses of their own, so they could bring real world experience into the classroom. And so the experiential and the work that we had to do really prepared me, I think, to tackle the things that I encountered at at my workplaces and then the newspapers taught me how to you know manage myself in the boardroom and with others, with bosses that maybe weren't so great, or with subordinates or, people that worked for me that were challenging. It prepared me for the whole deal, I feel like. It was,
What would you feel is the success or the biggest requirement for success in the boardroom?
um, number one is listening skills.
Um,
Um, People get in a boardroom situation sometimes and feel like it's very important for me to be heard. And so I'm going to say something, and oops, whatever that person has said really is not, it's not appropriate. It's easy for others to say, well, there's a person who just feels like they want to be heard because they're sitting in the boardroom. Uh,
right.
so I remember way, way back to one of my first experiences sitting in a boardroom, and the CEO was there and talking. And it was I can't even remember the topic of the meeting, but everyone was sitting around and listening to him talk, and then what I ultimately did, and I was like very low level, but he gave us free rein, and he asked if there were any comments or questions. And then I asked a question that turned out to be a good question and a thoughtful question. And so he was very impressed with that. And it literally helped accelerate my career to be that kind of person in a meeting who is listening and listening and listening. And then if you feel like it, you have a good, thoughtful question, do not be afraid to speak up, but you have to be really, really careful when you speak up in a boardroom. And that was in the early days. And then in the later days, when I was in, the boardrooms at the headquarters of Gannett in DC and whatever, it's more about deference to those individuals who are running this large organization, respect, but still being able to articulate whatever it is you're there. A lot of times it was budget meetings, so we were presenting a budget and making sure that we could get approval for running the organization in Detroit the way we wanted to. So being very, like I said, deferential but firm in knowing your stuff. Got to know your stuff. You just can't walk in there and not know your stuff. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
Yes, that was awesome. Because I hear a lot of times people say, oh, you have to have experience in front of boards and things like that. And I mean, I have a little bit, but I just really wanted to understand that a little bit more as to what that would involve. What do you think, what positive impact do you think it had on your children seeing their mom in school?
Oh, I think it was an amazing impact on them. I mean, I am forever grateful to my two kids who are, wonderful adults now. I have a granddaughter. They saw mom working so hard. They saw this because my son actually came to the daycare center at Eastern when I first started, it took me a while to kind of get through, but he was there. And they saw me doing my homework, but still trying to keep the house up and keeping all their school activities going. They just saw me working really, really hard, very goal-oriented mom. This is a very goal-oriented mom. They saw me study like crazy for the CPA exam.
Oh, yeah.
Just enormous amounts of studying, and they saw me accomplish a goal. They were at my graduation ceremony at Eastern. My daughter was 11 and my son was 7, and they were so proud of their mom because I'm walking with a cap and gown, and it had, I think, just a tremendous impact on them in regards to defying the odds and being successful in the midst of they know what challenges. They know I had a lot of childhood challenges, and they know I had a lot of challenges getting to where I got to, but they saw me work through the challenges and be successful. And I think it's been very motivating and inspiring to them.
Yeah, what a great example you were to them. I just think that's so valuable when kids can see their parents, whether it's going back to school or, pursuing a big goal in their life, but just witnessing that and seeing that, if you really put the time and the energy and the effort into it, you can accomplish it, right?
Yes, yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, they saw it happen, and they can apply it to their own lives when they're facing challenges as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess my last question would be, what bits of advice would you have for EMU students?
I have lived my life in a mode of continuous reinvention, actually. And I didn't realize it until was asked to give some speeches, some talks to people. And I look back over the course of my life to even just graduating from high school. And I went to work at a grocery store. I thought that was going to be my life, right? And getting motivated, like, oh my God, no, I can't do this for the rest of my life. So motivated to go to Schoolcraft, get an associate degree in computer science, and then get married, have kids, and then there's got to be something, and go get my EMU degree. And so I did that, and then I became a CPA, and then I, worked at the newspapers and became the president of the largest media organization in the state of Michigan. And then I retired, And now I'm on many, many boards. I'm a ballroom dancer, an avid exerciser. I mean, I'm just like, just keep changing, keep reinventing yourself, because that's to me what makes life super exciting, right? And I'm engaged to be married now. My first marriage didn't quite work out. And I just have a lot, I just like, oh, don't be afraid of the change and the reinvention of yourself at all. Kind of embrace it, because my life's just like super exciting, and
I love the saying by Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss.
yeah, great
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. And then I would suggest that people take a look at their idea of leadership and what does leadership really mean. And in my definition of leadership, there's a couple of different things. One is humility. Um, when I got promoted to the top spot at the newspapers, I was very well accepted because people saw me work my way up, and they worked alongside of me, and they knew my beginnings. I have very humble beginnings in the city of Detroit, and a family of 10. And I just, humility is part of my thing, and I'm serving on many boards, and you can't really, I don't think, be effective as a leader unless you have a decent dose of humility.
Yeah.
And I also would, under that framework of leadership, I look at intelligence. And I always knew that I did not have to be the smartest person in the room, but I had to know how to surround myself with super, super smart people, be able to listen to them. And then I was very comfortable like taking all this information and making the big decisions and doing all that. But I would never have called myself the smartest person in the room at all. That's to me, leadership is knowing how to lead, not that you're like this, super, super, super intelligent person.
Right.
And so I think
And it's listening, right? And
this,
making the decisions based on what is the best direction to go in.
yeah.
Yeah.
So reinvention, really dig into how you think about leadership. And then the third thing I would talk about is failure, and to not be put off or stymied and to stop because you fail. That to me, if you can use failure as a motivator to keep moving forward. And my perfect example is the CPA exam. So 3 tries. And I continued to push through it. I was raising kids and I had a lot going on and trying to study for the CPA exam. And I was in this environment where there were a lot of young people at the public accounting firm, and they were, able to study 100%. And I was so jealous, but this was my life, right? But I didn't not do it. And I am forever grateful that I went through the CPA training, because it was awesome. I highly recommend it if you're thinking about that world. But failure gives you an opportunity to pick yourself back up and move forward, and understand what happened in the failure, and be motivated. But you have to be motivated to go on, and you can't be afraid. You're not looking to fail, but you can't be afraid of it when it happens. It's
Right.
probably one of the most important things that you'll go through. And it's just the way the world works. But if you're never going to fail, you're not going to get very far. So
And sometimes you can fail up, right?
you can fail up as well. Yes.
Yeah. Or
Yes.
fail forward, Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah.
that's great advice. Great
Yeah.
advice. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
taking time out of your day. Is there anything else, any other wisdom or anything you would like to impart? I mean, you've shared so much already.
There is one other piece of advice that I think was kind of critical to me at certain times during my career. And it's kind of simply said, fake it till you make it. There were times in my career when I was being promoted, and my self-confidence maybe wasn't where it needed to be. But what I did was allow myself to acknowledge that there was someone or a body of people out there who thought I could do whatever it is they were promoting me to do. And so I looked towards them and said, well, okay, I might not feel it today, but they're feeling it. And so I'm going to go out there and act like I got it until I really do have it. And it works. It's like you just got to get through that don't give in to the feeling like I'm not sure I can do this. Just
Right.
go with this group of people that has confidence in you till you get the confidence in yourself. So
Right.
that's just been really kind of critical too.
I think that's one of the best pieces of advice ever. So
Yeah.
awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Welcome.